All right, let's talk about something that can keep any brand manager up at night, navigating the absolute chaos of a social media crisis.
You know how it goes. It starts with just one thing, a single video, maybe an angry customer tweet, and then suddenly a hashtag catches fire. And just like that, your brand is trending for all the wrong reasons.
And the cost of getting this wrong, oh man, it is staggering. Take United Airlines. A single viral video literally wiped out $1.4 billion in stock value in a single day. So how on earth do you prepare for that? Okay, let's dive in. So here's our game plan. We're going to tackle this in 4 parts. We'll start with understanding the threat itself, the digital wildfire. Then we'll get practical with the crisis response playbook. We'll look at what to do after the storm. And finally, we'll talk about building an ethical compass to hopefully avoid these things in the first place. All right, first up, the digital wildfire. It is so important to understand that a social media crisis isn't just a regular PR problem. No, this is a completely different kind of beast. The key phrase to lock onto here is amplified by public participation. See, in the old days, a company could sorta control the message. But now, the public has the microphone, and they are the ones fanning the flames. And what really makes it so different, so much more dangerous? It really boils down to 3 things. The speed. A story can go global in literally minutes. The scale. It doesn't just spread, it spreads exponentially to millions. And maybe the most important part, participation. Your audience isn't just watching the story, they're part of it. They're creating it. And these wildfires, they don't just appear out of thin air. They usually start from one of 4 kinds of sparks. It could be something as simple as a customer complaint that just blows up. Or it could be a major ethical violation, like that disastrous H&M hoodie. Sometimes it's employee misconduct that suddenly reflects on the entire company. Or, the big one, a massive data breach, like we saw with Cambridge Analytica. So, how do you fight a digital fire? You can't just cross your fingers and hope it goes away. You need a playbook. So let's get into what that looks like. Okay, picture it. That first angry hashtag is starting to trend. You're seeing it pop up everywhere. What's your immediate move? Because I'll tell you one thing, panic is not a plan. Here it is. This is your emergency guide, the 5C framework. First up, you contain it. That means you hit pause on all your scheduled happy-go-lucky posts immediately. Then you clarify, get the right people in a room and figure out what is really going on. Third, communicate, and you do it with empathy. Fourth, and this is so critical, you correct the problem with actual, real action. And finally, you continue. You follow up and you work to rebuild that broken trust. Now that third step, communicate. This is where so many brands just completely blow it. The instinct is to get defensive, right? To use corporate jargon, or even worse, blame the customer. The right move is always the opposite. You have to be empathetic, you have to be radically honest, and you have to just acknowledge the mistake. And look, this isn't just some feel-good advice. There is hard data to back this up. Customers are almost 3 times more likely to forgive your brand if you don't just say sorry, but you actually explain what you learned and how you're going to do better. That's huge. Okay, so let's fast forward. The fire is out, the worst seems to be over. But now what? Because this quiet moment, this is actually where you can turn a huge loss into a legendary win. First, let's look at what not to do. United's initial response to that viral video was this cold, corporate statement calling the passenger disruptive. It had 0 empathy. It was like pouring gasoline on the fire. And now, let's look at the right way. This is just brilliant. When KFC, a chicken company, ran out of chicken in the UK, it should have been a brand-killing disaster. But instead, they took out a full-page ad, cleverly rearranged their logo, and gave a humble, funny, and perfectly on-brand apology. And guess what? The public absolutely loved it. The media called it a masterclass in PR. They took their biggest possible failure and turned it into a moment that actually made their brand stronger. But here's the thing. Recovery isn't just about one clever ad. That's just the start. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It means you are constantly monitoring sentiment, you're tracking your progress, you're reporting transparently, and you're launching real, authentic actions that prove you've actually changed. And you know, all of this, it brings us to the most important part of this entire conversation. How do we move from being reactive firefighters to proactive fire marshals? How do we prevent the fire from ever even starting? Because let's be real, the ultimate goal isn't to get really, really good at apologizing. The goal is to build a brand and a culture that so rarely has to. And that all starts with ethics. This means you have to actively steer clear of the ethical minefields out there. Things like being sneaky about paid influencer posts, misusing customer data, or using those deceptive dark patterns designed to trick users into doing things they didn't want to do. So how do you stay on the right track? Well, here's a fantastic little tool you can use, the TARES test. Before you launch any campaign, just run it through this simple 5-part checklist. Is it truthful? Is it authentic to who we are? Does it show respect for our audience? Is it equitable and fair? And finally, is it socially responsible? And really, that leaves us with the one question that matters most. And it's not a question to ask when you're in the middle of a 5-alarm fire. It's the one you should be asking yourselves every single day. Is what we're doing actually making the world a little bit better?